minutes.
No minutes. All right, the time is 7 p.m. on November 8th, 2021, and I'm calling to order the Human Affairs Committee. We are meeting in the Aldermanic Chamber as well as via Zoom teleconference, and the meeting link can be found on the agenda as well as on the city's website. We're going to start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. If you're participating by Zoom, please state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting and your reason for not participating in person, which is required under the Right to Know law. Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. Alderman Karen.
I am here.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Clee.
I am here.
Alderman Kelly.
I am here via Zoom. There's no one in the room with me, and I am attending remotely due to COVID exposure.
And Alderman Wilshire is present. We have 5 in attendance.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire. I also see in attendance, I want to make sure we have all those people, is Tim Cummings, Mike Buxton, Assistant Fire Chief. I see Police Lieutenant Welsh. And is Dan Hudson in the chamber with you guys?
No.
Okay. All right. So we're going to begin the meeting with public comment. I know there is a few members of the public in the chamber, so we'll start there. And Alderman Clee has agreed to be my eyes on that, and then we'll go to Zoom.
I do not see anybody in the chamber, and I do not see anybody on Zoom.
We did at one point have someone on Zoom. I thought you said there were people in the chamber. I apologize.
There's nobody in the chamber.
Great.
There are people in Zoom from the public, but I don't see anybody with their hand raised. So if anybody from the Zoom world needs to speak, if you could raise your hand. Zoom land, yes. I do not see anything on Chairman Kelly.
If you change your mind, we have another public comment at the end of the evening. So thanks for joining us. All right. Presentations.
There are none.
Communications.
We have a communication from Tim Cummings, Economic Development Director, regarding communication, providing an update on ARPA outreach.
There's no objection. I'll accept the communication and place it on file. Great. Unfinished business.
We have none.
New business resolutions.
Before us this evening, we have Resolution 21-166 relative to the approval of an updated New Hampshire Department of Transportation project agreement and acceptance and appropriation of federal aid surface transportation funds from the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of improving the existing signalized intersection where East Hollis Street and Canal Street meet Bridge Street. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Motion on the floor is to recommend final passage. Ms. I know I asked you how to pronounce her name. Chismas? Yes, I got it. Did you want to speak on this piece?
I would like to, thank you. I'd also like to share my screen, if that's okay. Just
That's
one slide, that's it.
We're good?
All right. Oh, it's, host is disabled.
Okay, let me, see what I can do here. Look at more here.
I can chat
Are you the
and
host?
pull it up.
I'm the host here, yeah, so do I just go under the multiple participants?
You have to look for the document.
Let's give her 1 minute.
Sure.
Like you would on any other computer. You go.
Yeah, but we don't have her document. She wants to share it from her screen, yeah.
You have to go into the
Now try it. See if you
just to be
can-
able to
You got it?
try again.
You want to try it again? See if
Got it.
Awesome.
Is it letting you do
Your
it?
patience.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
good.
good.
There you go.
Allow for more.
All right. I'm
Thank
hoping
you,
you can
Jen.
see alternative 4. There you go. I can see it now. Thank you. All right. So good evening. My name is Julie Chismas, and I'm a transportation analyst and long-range planner in the Community Development Division here at City Hall. The resolution before you is regarding an agreement between the New Hampshire Department of Transportation and the city for a municipally managed project as discussed, already described at the intersection of East Hollis Street and Bridge Street, right by the bridges into Hudson. Under an existing agreement, an engineering study was completed, and the alternative that was recommended is the one that you can see on the screen. We are ready to move this project forward to the preliminary and then final design phases, which will take about a year. If all goes well, we would advertise this project in early 2023 and begin construction that summer. The original agreement was signed in 2014, and the state requested that it be updated before we progressed to the next phase in the project. One change in the agreement to note is with respect to the funding scenario. Back in 2014, when the project was established, it was funded with $3.6 million, all federal, 100% federally funded. We still have that $3.6 million in federal funding for the project, but the DOT has asked that if the project goes above that amount, up to about $4.6 million, that the city provide a 20% match. And that is a standard match rate for DOT projects. If projects costs continue to increase, then the agreement calls for a 50-50 split of costs over $4.6 million. The engineering study that we have designed a $3.6 million project, and we're gonna do, everything we can to keep this project within that budget. But the state wanted to make sure that there is financial commitment from the city to get the project completed, given how long it's been on the books. Like I said, the original agreement was signed in 2014. So that is why we are here this evening. We have this new agreement, and we are looking to get it signed, approved and signed. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chairman,
to the committee.
I
Go ahead.
I apologize, Chairman Kelly, Director Cummings would like to speak as well.
Thank you, Alderman Cleave. Go ahead, Director Cummings.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. Just a couple additional points on this project. It is before you this evening for the last stop on its way to hopefully final passage. Actually, I think it's anticipated for being heard tomorrow night at the Board of Aldermen meeting. In leading up to this evening's meeting, it was favorably recommended by the Board of Public Works and the Infrastructure Committee of the Board of Aldermen. So I would just want to note that for the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Cummings. Are there any committee members who have questions?
Madam Chair, Alderman Karen.
Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. Also, if I remember correctly, before COVID, you had a citizens group meet concerning this project because it was so extensive, and they really studied because there were 4 different projects here, and we were looking at a lot more green space and how we could do this in a safe, well-mannered, because of the traffic that we have over in that area. So I just want people to understand that there were residents from Ward 7 that were part of this overall project, and they really came together to come up with this final idea, which was presented, as you said, Director Cummings, to BPW and infrastructure. So I think it's important people know that there was community input on this.
Yes, if I may.
Director Cummings, go ahead.
Thank you. So as Alderwoman Karen pointed out, we did put together a community committee. It was based on community consensus. The group met 3 or 4 times in the lead up of the document and the design that you see on the screen, where we solicited all the major stakeholders' input in the area and had to balance it with all the competing interests, such as green space, environmental stewardship, traffic flow, and this is the design that came about and is the product of that design. So I appreciate the comments. I think it is very important to point out that we did achieve a community consensus on this alternative design. I also have one last point I failed to mention a second ago, but I think it's pretty important to mention. As Julie Shizmith noted, this project was originally contemplated for $3.6 million, and that was 100% federally funded, as noted in the document change. It's bracketed to go up to 4.5 million, 3.6 to 4.5 million. There'll be approximately a 20% share that would be local commitment to the project. That's a pretty standard 80-20 split when you have a federal grant. With costs increasing like the way they have been on capital projects, I wouldn't be surprised if we exceed the 3.6 million. I know we're working very hard to try to stay under it, but I'd be remiss, or I would fail to not mention that there is a chance that we could go above that 3.6 figure. But what I can also say is we have the money already appropriated in this year's fiscal operating budget. And so it would be part of our current operation, our operational budget plan to pay for it with those funds that have been set aside. So we had been anticipating it, and it would be just part of our budget plan if we went above the 3.6 million. Thank you.
Questions from the committee?
Alderwoman Harry Gathering.
Yeah, I wrote, that it was 4.6 million with a 20% match. So is it 4.6 or 4.5? Just want clarity.
It's 4.57.
5.7.
5.76 or something. I rounded up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Chisholm, can you unshare your screen?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'll be able to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the committee? I have a question, so I'll hold if there's anyone else. Lori or?
Alderman
No.
Karen has her hand up as well.
Thank you. Julie, can you tell us when, or Director Cummings, when you think you're going to break ground on this project? In the spring?
The current project schedule shows us being in the design phase through most of next year, actually, and our goal would be to advertise in early 2023. Again, that's presuming we don't have any delays in the process.
Okay. Okay, it is a long process, but.
Yep, and it's a complicated project, you know, we want to make sure that the design is well thought out and vetted.
Oh, yes, I understand, because there were a lot of questions and concerns on everyone's mind concerning this project, but at least we know it's not going to happen until 2023.
And if I may, Madam Chair,
Director Cummings, go ahead.
just want to make sure folks understand that we're going to do our best to try to keep it to one construction season, though it could be two. So we'll do everything we can to try to make it in one calendar year, but I also don't want folks to be surprised as if it takes us 2 years to get the project complete.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair, I do have a question as well.
Alderman Flake.
Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't talking into the mic. I apologize. I think mine.
I heard you.
I think mine may be for Director Cummings or Ms. Chismas. You mentioned the 4.2, anything over that, or I'm sorry, 4.6, anything over the 4.6 is a 50-50 split. And then you said you thought we'd be at 4.5 million. Do you think we'll get to the 4.6 with all, because I know construction's going through the roof and crazy. Hopefully it comes down a little bit by the time we're really ready to break ground, and I know you don't have a crystal ball. I'm not going to hold you to anything, and if we did, do we have it in the budget?
So we have the 20% in this year's budget. If I may, Madam Chair.
We not hear you, Madam Chair.
It's because somehow I muted myself. Director Cummings, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. So it is in this year's budget for the 20% figure at the high end of the bracket, the 4.57. If we were to need it, we're going to do everything we can not to use those funds. I cannot promise you that we will, stay there because of just how quickly costs are escalating. But what I do know is I'll be coming back before you to have this type of conversation if we see it going beyond what we've anticipated. And I think at that point, we'd be talking about designing and value engineering, so we stay within our budget.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, Alderman Lopez snuck in at some point during this conversation. I have no idea what time, but stealth-like he did.
Does he have a question, or was that just for the record? Ultimately?
We also have Alderman Lou on Zoom.
We do.
Yes.
Mhm.
I have a quick question. So my question was along the same lines as Alderman Clee in terms of it becoming that 50-50 split after the 4.6. You mentioned that you would be in the design phase most of next year. At what point are we able to like lock a price in terms of materials?
If I may, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank you. We would know when we get to the end of preliminary design with much more confidence as to what the costs would be. So it's a little bit of an unknown bogey right now. But when we finish up preliminary design and at the beginning stages of what's referred to as final design, we would have a much better understanding as the true cost of the project. Though, based on the advice we've gotten from our consultants, we're on track for where we need to be.
Okay, great. It sounds like a lot of research and work has gone into this, so I appreciate all of the hard work here. Is there anyone else from the committee who has questions before we take a vote?
I do not see any, and I do not see a question from Alderwoman Lou as well, so
Okay.
I think we're good.
Let's call the roll, please. Alderman Wilshire.
Okay, the motion before us is for final passage of Resolution 21-166. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
And Alderman Wiltshire votes yes. You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
And that motion carries.
Next, we have Resolution 21-167 relative to the acceptance of $16,138,777 from the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, SLFRF, program established by the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, to cover eligible expenses and/or revenue replacement in responding to COVID-19 impacts. I'll make a motion to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-167.
Motion is for recommendation of final passage. I believe that Director Cummings is here to speak on this one.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. I'm going to ask that you favorably recommend our 21-167 this evening. And I'm going to hopefully use this opportunity to give everyone a quick update in terms of where we're at with the outreach that we've conducted for the opera program funds, if I may, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So as you may recall, a few months back, I came before the Board of Aldermen and we gave a presentation about how the opera funds could be used. And at that time, we said we would go out and we would talk to the community, and we've done that. We've had a couple virtual forums. We've had an in-person forum. If you go to the city's website, we created a dedicated page. We put up a YouTube video, which gave a presentation of the program in and of itself, and we actually created a survey form where we asked people's input. The feedback has been good. It has not been robust by any stretch, but what I can say is that from what we are hearing from the public, the predominant thought is that we use the funds for affordable housing. And so, as you saw earlier on your agenda this evening, I'm asking that we continue to take in feedback. There is no time sensitivity at this point in time to do anything with the funds. So I'd like to continue to engage the community and to hear what people have to say about usage of those funds. And then ultimately, when it comes to appropriating the funds, come back before you with a more detailed plan. I'd also just final comment on this subject. We also internally solicited all the various departments within the city, asked them what requests that they may have that may be COVID eligible. We have a short list of various projects that the various departments may be able to use the funds for, and we will absolutely be assembling that list and to compile it and present it to you so we can hopefully help advance some of the longstanding projects that internal departments have that may be COVID eligible. Lastly, I know I said that was my final comment, but I have one more.
You're cut off.
We are also,
There's a text.
I'm also in the midst of drafting an RFQ to release to the professional consulting world, mainly accounting firms and particularly management firms, where we're going to be asking them to submit a proposal to us so we could retain an outside consultant that has particular expertise in the usage in the ARPA funds. So a couple of the larger accounting firms are offering this service. I think it would be for the minimal upfront cost that it would have on us. I think it would pay dividends. We do not want to put ourselves in a position where we would have to potentially pay back any or all of that $16 million. So that's something that I would be looking to release to the community over the next couple of weeks, have proposals submitted to us. And then there's an internal group of CFO Griffin, Chief of Staff Celinder, and myself that would be interviewing, vetting their proposals, and ultimately bringing them back before you for a contract when we get there. So anyway, just wanted to provide you all with a quick update on where we're at with the program, and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cummings. Just clarifying that all we're doing this evening is accepting the funds, and those extra steps that you just talked about will happen in the coming months.
That's absolutely correct. All you're doing this evening is your recommendation would be to accept the money, that $16 million.
Great, thank you. Does anyone from the committee have questions for Director Cummings?
I just have one quick question, Madam Chair.
Alderman Clegg?
And I don't see any other hands. So I do understand that we're just approving these funds, and that makes sense. And then in the future, it would, we're approving, accepting the funds. I'm sorry, I apologize for using the wrong term. And then in the future, through the Board of Aldermen, we would determine how the funds would be used. You'll come back with a plan.
Correct.
To the Board of Aldermen and et cetera. And I'm just putting that out there for the public. In the meantime, you still have the website and so on, looking for the appropriate feedback. So we really want to push the public to speak up and so on. I know we've had people from different various organizations, as you said, affordable housing, and I know there have been some other ideas that have been thrown out there, but that seems to be the biggest one, at least the ones that I get.
Yes.
So we should try to advertise your webpage and all the information that you've been putting out there to get a more robust feedback, as you said. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, Director Cummings, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It would be great content for each of you who may have a distribution list for your emails. So feel free. We absolutely want to promote the webpage and try to get as much feedback as we can.
Thank you, Director Cummings. Okay, if there's no other questions from Alderman?
I see none.
Alderman Wilshire.
Okay. Before us is resolution, for recommending final passage for resolution 21-167. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clegg.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes,
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. That's 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Next on our agenda this evening is Resolution 21-174, relative to the acceptance of $25,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Safety State Homeland Security Grant Program into Fire Grant Activity 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program. I'll make a motion to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-174.
Motion on the floor is to recommend final passage. I know Assistant Chief Buxton is here. I don't know if you want to quickly give us an update. Looks like it's something we get every year, but I know you're here.
Yep, thank you very much, Madam Chair. You hit the nail on the head. We receive this grant every year. It's one of the drivers for our hazardous materials team that allows us to procure equipment and keep us moving forward as the technologies advance. This is for some gear dryers for our hazardous materials suit, which are very challenging. They're built to protect us very well, but they take a lot to actually dry them, and it's not a product that you can actually put in a regular clothes dryer. So this is a specialized dryer for those suits. So it's a no-match grant. It's through an annual program with the Department of Homeland Security with the state of New Hampshire.
Thank you very much. Does anyone from the committee have any questions?
I see no one from the committee, but Alderman Lopez has his hand raised.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes to Assistant Chief Buxton. I remember we were talking about this in the joint committee meetings with regards to public works. Are there other city departments that can also use the dryers or would benefit from having access to them for cleaning their own equipment?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
So these are pretty specialized dryers, and because we utilize them for our hazardous materials team suits, it's pretty important that we keep them in pristine order, because any contamination from outside sources could cause us to have problems with our suits or could cause us to have problems on scene. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but they would just be available for fire department and potentially police department use.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I see no one.
Alderman Wilshire.
Okay. The motion is for recommend final passage of 21-174. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clay.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes,
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. That's 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Next item on our agenda is Resolution 21-175, relative to the acceptance of $300,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Safety into police grant activity FY 2022 Opioid Abuse Reduction Initiative Grant. I'll make a motion to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-175.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire. The motion on the floor is to recommend final passage. I believe Lieutenant Welch is here to give us a quick overview of this.
Yes, good evening. I was recently transferred down to the Services Bureau, replacing Lieutenant Camacho. Officer Pasillo is usually here before you guys to present these grants, but this is my first opportunity, so I'm pleased to be here. Again, just like the other grant that Mr. Buxton just said, this is a yearly grant. We did not receive this last year, however, due to COVID, but we have received this for the last handful of years. We awarded $300,000 for OT and fringe benefits to support our NID investigations, which it helps to identify, investigate, and apprehend individuals or organizations that are involved in narcotics use, in trafficking, for our dangerous level drugs.
Thank you for that overview and welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Does anyone from the committee have questions?
Madam Chair, other than myself, I don't see anybody's hands raised.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you. The question to you, Mr. Welsh, I'm sorry. Is this like the other grant, a no-match grant, or is there a matching fund grant?
It is, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yes, it is a no-match grant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Not from me, and I don't see anybody else's hand raising.
Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. So for recommending final passage of Resolution 21-175, Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clay.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes,
And Alderman Wilshire votes yes. We have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Next before us this evening is Resolution 21-176, relative to the acceptance of $128,781.82 from the Federal Department of Homeland Security into Fire Grant Activity FY 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant and authorizing the transfer of matching funds. I'll make a motion to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-176.
Motion on the floor is for final passage, recommending final passage. And I do believe that Assistant Chief Buxton is still with us.
Yes, he is.
Hi, good evening. Steve Buxton, Assistant Chief National Fire again. So this is, the assistance to firefighter grants is something we apply for annually. We usually focus it in different areas. With the research that has recently been done and revealed that firefighters are more susceptible and have a higher diagnosis of cancer, we've decided to go after a cancer screening wellness grant program for our organization. So this funding will allow us to give our members the opportunity to participate in that program. It's very beneficial for us. Currently, we provide physicals similar to this to about half our organization because they participate on either the hazardous materials team or the dive team. These funds would allow us to offer it to the entire organization. So I'm available for any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Mr. Buxton. Does anyone from the committee have questions?
Again, other than myself, I see no hands raised. And
Alderman Clegg, go ahead.
thank you so much. Assistant Chief Buxton, I'm going to ask the same question. Was this, you may have said it and I just missed it, is this also a no match grant, or is there a matching funds on this grant?
No, I apologize. I did not mention that. This is a matching grant for us, and I believe the funding is somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000, and we do have a line already identified within our budget that we'll take those funds from.
In any case, I think it's great that we're doing this screening, and I think it's extremely important. So I only ask that just to get that out in the public, but I think this is extraordinary, and we have a lot of high diagnosis throughout the entire country with firefighters. So thank you for looking for this. Madam Chair, I'm done. Thank you.
And if there's no one else, Alderman Wilshire?
Okay, the motion is to recommend final passage of Resolution 21-176. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Yes?
Alderman Clegg.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. We have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries. New business ordinances.
We have none?
Tabled in committee.
None?
General discussion?
I see none.
Public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak?
I see no hand risen.
I see none as well. Remarks by Alderman.
A lot of good.
I'm
Anybody?
sorry, Alderman Wilshire.
Go ahead, Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. We did a lot of good work on trying to get some grants into the city. I mean, we passed, recommended for passage 5 pretty decent grants this evening, and I think they served the city well. So thank you to all the departments who put the work and effort into getting this. That's all.
I agree. Is there anyone else in the chamber that I can't see, Alderman Clegg?
Yes, Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Lopez, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind members of the public who may be watching that this Thursday we do have a Veterans Day Parade. It's kicking off from Holman Stadium at 11:11, and we'll go down Main Street to Elm Street. So don't plan on crossing Main Street at that particular time, but definitely come out and support veterans.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Anyone else? I just want to thank the committee for helping me chair remotely tonight, and just remind the community that while we are on, we definitely seem to be going the right direction. We definitely are still seeing COVID cases in our schools and in our city. So be safe, wear your mask, wash your hands. It's not quite done yet. So that is it for me. Do I have a motion? Oh, there's no non-public, and then I need a motion.
Yes, to adjourn.
The motion is to adjourn by roll call.
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Harry Gathright.
Yes.
Alderman Clegg.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes,
Alderman Wilshire votes yes. We have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and the meeting is adjourned at 7:34 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.